Hello, and good evening. I'm gonna actually remember to post to Twitter this time. There we go. But yeah, today we're gonna start the second case in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So yeah, hopefully this will be a good time too. The only other thing I'll note before going into the game is I am going to have to keep the stream closer to 4 hours long today, so that might mean ending a little bit early, but we'll see, because I think the pace of the game is going to slow down a bit, because we should actually have to investigate and interview people and stuff before doing stuff in the courtroom, so we'll see how it splits parts, but I'll make a judgment when we get to the end of the first part of the case if it is multi-part, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm sure there'll be a cutscene, so I'm probably gonna have to hide myself for a minute while we get through that. The Adventure of the Unbreakable Speckled...
In a corner of that small, dark room, Sholmes and I waited with bated breath. In time, there came from the ventilator a hiss and a soft, almost growl-like sound. Suddenly, Sholmes sprang into action, lashing furiously with his cane at a point in the darkness. "You see it, Wilson?" he yelled, his tense voice reverberating through the air. I raised my dark lantern's shutter, and the room slowly came into view. Sholmes was staring intently at one particular corner when he started whispering to me. The victim's most perplexing final words. The speckled band. I believe this is the terrible coil to which you referred, Wilson. In front of us was an enormous adder, its fangs bared as it threatened to strike. It truly was the most terrible speckled band I had ever seen.
The 9th of January, 6:37 a.m. On board the...
So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder. Pray, do excuse me. The cabin door was bolted from the inside when the man was killed. No marks to suggest the bolt was tampered with in any way. So, this would appear to be a locked room mystery. In his final moments, the victim scrawled a message on the floor. Almost certainly with the ink from this upset bottle. A Russian word. So the victim was a Russian man then. And the letters are well formed, suggesting he was compos mentis at the time. This is a most extraordinary script. And evidently not penned by the same hand as this message. In fact, I deduce it was written by someone of a different nationality. This paper seal was placed just prior to the incident, by the victim himself, I would venture. Well, what have we here?
Who are you, and what do you think you're doing here?
No one must touch before maritime police come. We must wait!
Shh. That won't be necessary. You see, in less than 5 seconds from now, I will reveal the killer to you.
What? Don't be absurd. This is murder. And in cabin locked from inside.
Ah yes, the locked room. But that mystery is paper thin.
don't mean the culprit is in there?
Who are you, and where have you come from?
I'm a great British consultant detective, the only one in the world. Herlock Sholmes. I presume you must have heard of me.
My head is throbbing. Yeah, we've been introduced to a new character, Herlock Sholmes. That's good. What's going on? Something's not right here. There's trouble in the air. Wait. I can't move. What the? Why am I in handcuffs? What is Ryunosuke caught in here? So you wake up now, We had to drag you out of the wardrobe. I do not believe how you could not wake up. You are a true cold-blooded man. You... Ah, you found me then. Ah, we found you. And now you will pay, criminal. How long are you hiding in that wardrobe? Sorry. Now you have been found. It is time to admit your crimes. Unless you want to find out how cold the ocean is. No, I'll tell you everything. There's only one thing I'd like to know from you. Isn't that? Why did you do it? Why did you take his life? Miss Susato. Wait, what did you just say? Take his life? But where is he? Where's Kazuma? Ah, you pretend you do not know. You are a wolf in sheep's pelt. You are the killer. Do not try to make excuses. What? Kazuma-sama's body was discovered not long ago. What? No! He can't be dead. Here, in this very cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. His body. Please. Do not try to tell us you were doing this terrible thing in your sleep. Kazuma's dead? But he can't be. In these handcuffs, surely you don't think I have to know. Why did you take Kazuma-sama's life? Answer me, please. No. Cosma. It was just 2 short weeks ago. Are you sure about this? Won't we get in trouble? Don't you find it fun being a stowaway? Besides, how else could you come to England with me to study? It was really something else when they brought your luggage in here earlier, though. The way that Russian crewman just tossed your traveling case onto the floor. I thought I was going to die. Yes, I still can't quite believe that. I really didn't think you'd be able to fit inside my trunk. You must be even less of a man than you look. Oh, thanks, Cosmo. What a glowing compliment. Hey, honestly, I thought I'd broken every bone in my body. Well, it's about 50 days until we dock in Great Britain. But if you confine yourself to my cabin here, I don't expect anyone will discover you. I hope not. I get the feeling those Russians wouldn't be very forgiving of a stowaway. They're a sturdy bunch, that's for sure. What I want to know is, why do we need to keep it a secret from the young lady? From our faithful judicial assistant Mikotoba, you mean? From your close friend, more to the point? Surely we could confide in her, couldn't we? I don't believe she'd give me away. No, but if she knew what we'd done, that would make her guilty by association. It's best that you and I know about this only. I suppose so. Anyway, it's about the time the steward is supposed to come to clean this cabin. I know it's cramped, but you'd better get in there. I think it won't be for long. And anyway, compared to hiding in my traveling case, it'll be a breeze. Yes, but what if the steward decides to open the wardrobe for some reason? Then I'll be in for it. Stop worrying. I tell you what. Why don't you write "keep out" or something on this piece of paper? What? Then I can stick it over the wardrobe doors once you're inside. I don't know. We've only been at sea for 15 days. How can this have happened? We were supposed to be going on this adventure to England together. We leave you at next port. Stay quiet till then. Don't make more trouble for yourself. Murderer. No, I'm not a murderer. Stop. You said before. You said you admit everything about your crimes. No, that's not right. I mean, yes, I did stow away on this ship, but murdering my best friend. No one else could have done it. Admit the truth. Susato-san? Please, tell me what happened. I need to know. Very well. But there is something I would like to ask of you, too. Those eyes. She looks like she's ready to destroy me. This nightmare is getting worse by the minute. I suppose all I can do is try to find out what really happened. Kazuma's death. He really has been killed, hasn't he? This isn't just a bad dream. And these handcuffs, they think I did it? They think I'm Kazuma's killer? When they found him, the cabin was locked from the inside. What do you mean? There's no access to the cabin via porthole window, and the bolt on the door can't be operated from the outside. In other words, after the crime, the culprit wouldn't have escaped these four walls. What? Or to put it in another way, the culprit can only have been somebody inside this cabin. Or do you have some other explanation? This is impossible. How did he die then? What happened exactly? Are you still going to deny the charge, even despite the circumstances? Please, Susato-san, you have to tell me. The cause of death is still undetermined. They don't know how he died. The ship's doctor is examining the body, but of course, he has no post-mortem analysis experience. I don't suppose we shall learn more until an expert has been consulted at our next port of call. So presumably that means there were no obvious external signs of injury then? That's true, yes. About the incident. Can't anyone tell me what actually happened here in this cabin? I don't understand it. Why would anyone want to kill Kazuma? Presumably, that's something you know the answers to better than anyone. Please. Whatever you say, you were here in the cabin after all. Well, yes I was, but... He would always wake before dawn and do his training first thing in the morning. I was waiting outside his cabin, as I have every day so far on the voyage. But this morning, he did not come. I could sense that he wouldn't. Does that mean he was already dead when Susato-san arrived at his cabin door? I wonder. I knocked, but there was no reply. Then I started to become worried, so I went and found a member of the crew. The crewman forced the cabin door open, and when we managed to get inside, there was Kazuma-sama, collapsed on the floor. And the white tape there now shows exactly where he was found, I suppose. I had no idea anything had happened. I must have been asleep in the wardrobe somehow. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's just very hard to believe. This is all hard for me to believe too. Trust me. How could Kazuma die? Now I've told you everything that I know. So it's my turn to ask you a question. Yes, alright. My head feels so heavy. It's still throbbing like anything. Stow away. Why are you even on board this ship, Naruhodo-san? You said something before about being a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, yes. I'm afraid that's true. It's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks since we left Japan now, and I've been shut up in this cabin the whole time. I had no idea. But how could you have occupied Kazuma-sama's cabin for so long without him noticing? No. That would have been impossible, obviously. Oh no, that's Ryunosuke. That would have been impossible, obviously. Yes, of course. Kazuma invited me. He wanted us to go to England together. He actually asked you. But why? I'm afraid I don't really know the reason myself. I don't understand. Kazuma, why do you want to do this? What's the real reason? Why go to such extreme lengths to smuggle me to England with you? It's an idea that's been on my mind ever since the end of that incredible trial. I think I told you then, didn't I? That you ought to become a lawyer yourself. Well, yes, you did say that, but I didn't think you were serious. You have a talent for it. I can assure you of that. But I've never really thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, that's something you can decide for yourself. London is at the spearhead of cultural development, the center of the world in many ways. There can't be any harm in seeing such an important place with your own eyes, can there? Well, no, definitely not. But on a personal level, if you were to become a lawyer, then what? Nothing. Forget it. Kazuma-sama is... He was always saying the same thing. That he wanted to change the Japanese legal system. Perhaps he thought he could do that with you. Yes, maybe. But something's still bothering me a little. The look in his eyes then. It was darker than I've ever seen it before. Susato-san. I'm sorry we kept it a secret from you. My stowing away on this ship, I mean. If I know Kazuma-sama, I expect he was trying to protect me, to avoid me becoming guilty by association. That's exactly right. Yes, word perfect, in fact. If you're not the culprit, then tell me. What happened last night here in this cabin? Well, the thing is, I don't really remember. Cosmo brought me something to eat, just like he always did. And then I got myself into that wardrobe over there, just like I always did. After that, I fell asleep. Well, yes. So deeply that you didn't even stir when Kazuma-sama was killed. Well, yes. I know it sounds unbelievable, really I do, but it's the truth. If only I'd woken up, then perhaps I wouldn't be in this predicament. And for some reason, my head's still throbbing like anything. Really? Is something wrong? Oh, no. It's... Please forget it. Susato-san, you have to believe me. I didn't do it. I really don't want to doubt you. But the trouble is, there's no one else who could have possibly done this. Ugh. Kazuma, I don't understand. Why? Why did this have to happen? I can't take this. Don't try to go anywhere. You're the perpetrator of this crime. You can't leave. I can't allow that to happen. I'm sorry. But Cosmo was killed right under my nose here. And I didn't do anything to stop it. And now I'm just supposed to sit around, my hands tied, while whoever did this walks free? No, I can't allow that to happen. Well, what do you propose to do then? I'm going to investigate. I'm going to find out exactly what happened here. I'm gonna work out who took Kazuma's life and how and why they did it. So I'm sorry. You're going to have to excuse me. Hiya! What the? That was a Susato takedown. A Susato what? What martial art form is that? I'm going to need you to prove it. Sorry? Prove it? Yes, you're innocent. I need evidence. But how am I supposed to... Have you forgotten already what you achieved just a few weeks ago? You successfully defended yourself in a court of law. I see. She's expecting me to present some conclusive evidence. I have to get Susato-san to believe me. I'll show her some evidence right now that proves I'm not the guilty of this awful crime.
Yes!
A paper slip. Tell me, when I was discovered in the wardrobe before, was this piece of paper stuck over the doors? Oh, yes it was. I remember clearly. I thought so. Kazuma always put it in place whenever I went to sleep in there. Just in case the cabin steward or another crew member decided to look inside. So naturally, he did the same last night as well. Ah, yes, of course. The gentleman who discovered you peeled that sign from the wardrobe's doors before he opened them. But if I were truly the culprit, I couldn't have climbed back inside the wardrobe and stuck this on the outside of the doors on my own. Yes, that's quite true. In other words, it's impossible that I killed Kazuma. Well, even if you are sprawled hopelessly on the floor, I can see why Kazuma-sama thought so highly of you. Thank you, Susato-san. Now, do you think you could perhaps help me up? I am handcuffed. Well, in light of that evidence, I don't see any reason why I should stop you from investigating in here at least. Thank you. So you finally believe me? I'm sorry. No. What? I'm not sure yet. I can't rule out the possibility that you use some kind of conjuring trick to put the sign back in position. What does he think I am? A magician? For now, I suggest you investigate as thoroughly as possible in here. I'll do the same. Alright, let's get to work, Susato-san. Please, don't misunderstand me. I still have my doubts. Oh. I shall be watching you to make sure you do nothing that might disturb the crime scene. I wouldn't want you to use your conjuring tricks to destroy evidence, for example. Right. Well, anyway, I should make a start on investigating in here. Examine everything I can. Kazuma, I swear, I will avenge your death. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Beria. It's essentially a list of requests from the captain to all passengers on board. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. What? Why are you staring at me? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking. Are you more of a dangerous object or a pet? Thank you, Susato. I can't decide. Well, one thing's for sure. Either way, I wasn't supposed to be in here. Oh dear, that won't do. Oh, what's the matter, Susato-san? Whenever I'm examining things, I always find myself so focused I forget to look around properly. Ah yes, that's not good. I don't suppose you're as foolish as me in that regard, are you, Naruhodo-san? I'm sure you're careful to look all around, using B and M, aren't you? Let's investigate all the corners of this cabin. Yes, let's do that. I suppose my field of vision has been rather small until now. The books have fallen over on the shelf. They've all toppled the same way. And what's this? A statue of some god of the sea, although he's fallen over as well. It's almost as if the whole shelf has been ransacked, and everything mown down at once. I wonder if... perhaps it was Kazuma-sama doing his morning sword training. Do you think? I seriously doubt it. Then perhaps... it was you, Naruhodo-san, in a fit of rage. I wouldn't have bothered leaving the wardrobe just to mess up a few books and a statue. Could the way these things have been thrown about have anything to do with the case, I wonder? Well, I'll just set everything straight again. I don't like to see a mess. That's a very large traveling case, isn't it? Yes, it carries a lot of memories for me. Memories? What do you mean? Well, that's actually how I stowed away on this vessel. I was brought aboard inside that case. Ah, yes. I see it says "this way up" in Japanese. Which in hindsight, I should have realized the foreign crewmen wouldn't be able to read. And it was turned over and over and over, and then I was tossed on the floor in here. Oh dear. Being a stowaway isn't as romantic as it sounds. Well, it was less painful than a Susato takedown. What do you think this is? It looks like a broken piece of glassware. Whatever the thing was, it appears to have broken clean in two. The glass is such a beautiful color. It looks like a cute little Netsuke fastener from the kimono outfit. I'm not sure that sounds like Kazuma. He wouldn't have secretly carried a cute little trinket like that around with him, would he? And the mark beside it. What is it, I wonder? It has sort of a brick-like hue. Yes, you're right. It is the color of brick, isn't it? Even though I don't see anything of the same color anywhere else in the cabin. That's Cosmo's precious sword. He never went anywhere without it. Yes, he was always saying that a Japanese man's katana is his soul. I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on this trip. I suppose that just shows how important it was to him. And now he's gone. But I'm not ready to let his spirit go just yet. Seiki. The Japanese word for justice. The brushstrokes are straight and true, just like Kazuma. Yes, his calligraphy always was a reflection of his heart. Yet you, can you really look at those characters without feeling shame, knowing who drew them so thoughtfully? Of course I can. I mean, I'm innocent, so why shouldn't I be able to? Even though you stowed away on this ship. Now you're going to bring that up, aren't you? I can't win. Did I not look at whatever that is on the floor? Okay, I can. That's my dinner from last night. A roast chicken. It was really tasty. Yes, it was very delicious, wasn't it? But did you eat it on the floor here? I'm not a dog, Susato-san. I ate at the table, of course. Which begs the question of, when and how did the plate end up on the floor? But Kazuma-sama didn't like chicken at all, did he? No, that's right. He didn't touch it. Which meant all the more for me. Oh no, does that mean... Poor Kazuma-sama spent his last night on this earth with an empty belly? It's just too horrible. Now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach. Did Kazuma write this before he died? It looks like it's written in ink. He must have knocked down the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. Then I suppose he wrote this message by dipping his finger in the spillage. Poor Kazuma-sama. No doubt he was in terrible pain. It's almost unbearable to imagine. I suppose he was trying to leave some kind of clue in his final moments, was he? I'm sorry, partner, but I can't read your writing. I don't think that's Japanese, Naruhodo-san. What? Then what language is it? It pains me to admit it, but I don't know. It's not a foreign script I'm familiar with. What does it mean, I wonder? Oh no, the traveling case. Excuse me. What? I was wondering how it's going. The investigation, I mean. Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes. But it is not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal asking the investigator for information about his crime. Very funny. Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a joke. He doesn't appear to be laughing either. He's convinced you're guilty. You might have useful information, though. I have to keep trying. So last night, did you notice anything out of the ordinary at all? Yet, of course not. Now back to the corner of the room and make silent. I see no more to you. I hit a nerve. Just for a minute there, he seemed a little flustered. When I went for help, and the crewman forced the door open, this bolt had firmly closed. It's quite a small bolt, and not particularly sturdy either. It just slides across to secure the door shut. But still, with the door bolted, there'd be no way to get in or out of the cabin. That's for sure. It's no wonder everyone suspects me. When she glares at me like that, I feel tense all up and down my spine. I remember reading once in a detective novel. The culprit used a needle and thread to draw a bolt across from outside the room in a situation like this. Yes, that's a clever trick, isn't it? I'm an avid reader of detective stories myself. But the door of this cabin and its frame are made of metal, and they seal together perfectly. There'd be no possibility of using that needle and thread trick here, I'm afraid. When she's glaring like that, I feel pins and needles all up and down my spine. Let's look at the desk. This is where dear Kazuma-sama would have sat whenever he was writing. London Diary. Poor Kazuma. He didn't even make it to his destination. It looks as though the last entry is incomplete. Which means what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? Let's see what it says. It could be a valuable clue. That's out of the question. What? Kazuma-sama may have departed this world, but you must not read his private thoughts. What if it's something important, relevant to the case? Alright. Alright. I won't read it. Poor Kazuma-sama. I don't like prying into people's personal matters either. But in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? The wardrobe. It's some 2 weeks since we set sail from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe the entire time, Naruhodo-san? I think living isn't quite the right description. Oh no, I suppose not. Although it must have been rather exciting making this voyage in your own secret hideout. The trouble was, I never knew when a member of the crew might come in. So yes, I did basically have to live in the wardrobe. And last night was no exception. But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin. No, sadly not. I think that's some kind of opening for a ventilator. A hole through which fresh air can circulate into the cabin. Isn't that a little odd? What do you mean? Well, this ventilator, if that's what it is, looks like it must connect to the next door cabin. Yes, it would appear to. You're right. But if its purpose is to allow fresh air into the room, surely it should be connected to the outside. That's true. Perhaps it's so that the rain and spray don't find their way in when the seas are rough, or something like that. I suppose. Maybe that's it. Who's that? He wasn't there a minute ago. As far as I can tell, it looks like he might be European. Oh, how did he... You've noticed the man too, have you? No idea who he is or how he got in here. But he looks suspicious and tall. Suspiciously tall. Naruhodo-san, don't tell me. Do you really not know who that man is? Well, no. I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. He doesn't look like a member of the crew. There's something very unusual about him. And he's investigating Cosmo's desk, or is he just playing on it? I can't tell. Well, in this case, we simply must talk with him. Am I imagining it? Or does Usato-san look almost uncontrollably excited? By the way, I expect you've noticed already, but just in case, if you press space when they're when on people when they're in the crosshairs. You can converse with them. I'll get that suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself. Oh, please do. This is, yes. It's a bell cord contraption, I think. What do you mean, contraption? I read about it when I was studying that. I read about it in a book I was studying that talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which you can pull to ring a bell to summon servants. Really, that sounds almost magical. Shall we give it a try? Yes. In the interest of cultural research, obviously. I suppose nobody comes for lowly Japanese people. No, I'm sure everyone's just busy. That's all. Hey, let's talk to him. Excuse me. Excuse me, do you have a moment? Shh, this is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly. Yes, perhaps that would be for the best. Greetings, I hope I haven't kept you long. Ah. What exactly are you doing on Kazuma's desk just now? I see. Fascinating. Sorry, what do you see? It feels like he's looking right through me. Oh yes, everything is clear now. The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You. I've been in Afghanistan, I perceive, and just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? What? And now, whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh, well, that's true at least. But how? How the deuce did I know that, perhaps? It was really a most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining. Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else? Well, of course. A great many things. There's no mystery, my dear madam. For example, you have fled your native land of Russia, being as you are, a merciless revolutionary. You leave 16 victims of assassination in your wake, and now travel to England to blow up the Crystal Tower. The Crystal Tower! Is that a thing in England? I don't know. It's a thing in Final Fantasy, but you wouldn't be able to blow that up very easily. And when the when the briband occupant of this very cabin discovered your identity, you ended his life too. Yes, I believe that summarizes the facts so beautifully. Don't need to hide the truth now. Nothing deceives these eyes. Just to be clear, you are talking about me, are you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name? I don't even see one person who fits the bill. So it's true. It was you who did this to Kazuma-sama. What? And you're plotting a revolution too. It's shameful behavior, Naruhodo-san. Absolutely wicked. No. Listen, now explain yourself. Tell me everything. This is ridiculous. How could you do it? For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary, obviously. Oh, forgive me. And as for you, what kind of deduction was that? You were just saying the first thing that came into your head. But was I not right? Whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you do find yourself in a most troubling predicament, do you not? Well, yes, maybe. Huh, there you have it. You see, what do you make of that? Hmm? Well, to be honest, the ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. So I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed, an observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon observing the trifles, you see. I announce my findings with a brassy certitude. And more often than not, I'm right. Ah. I don't think you introduced yourself. Ah, my apologies. How remiss of me. I'm none other than the greatest detective of the century, known to men and women all of the world over. The inimitable Herlock Sholmes. We did it. It's Herlock Sholmes. The greatest detective in the world. No one can imitate him. So, it's really you? The actual Herlock Sholmes? The very same. The inimitable actual Herlock Sholmes. Do you know this man, Susato-san? The most famous detective in the world. Naruhodo-san, of course I do. There's nobody who hasn't heard of him. What planet have I been living on then? We must ask him what he's deduced. He will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure. Really? Why do I feel uneasy about this? So, you're a great detective, are you? Sorry, what was your name again? Indeed. I'm none other than the one and only Sherlock Sholmes. Oh, I see, you're German? Herlock, was it? No. I have no her. I mean, I have hair. Please call me Sholmes. You can read all about my exploits in this exciting London publication. Oh yes, Ranced magazine, full of wonderful short stories and interest articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I was sent from England especially. Ah yes, here it is, The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. So you're the protagonist in a series of short stories, then? Indeed I am. And you've read so many of your own stories, you've started to think you really are a detective. Make no mistake, I'm not the poor, deluded fellow you take me for. Your inference is backward. Backward? My trusty biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in the magazine. You have a biographer, do you? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name of Dr. Wilson, presently keeping shop in London. Dr. Wilson? I must say, thanks to the publication, I've been fantastically busy of late. Why? This very moment I'm returning from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? I can't work out whether to take this man seriously or not. Deduction, you see, is to me a science, logical reasoning in its purest form. Science? Really? The absolute observer notices even the most subtle of the reactions in his subject. A furtive glance, a twitch of a muscle, a slight inclination of the posture. Fingernails, arm sleeves, furrows in the skin. All of these things are data. Right. And the trained logician makes deductions from this data in the blink of an eye. The ultimate conclusion is without fail, the truth. As I demonstrated only a few short moments ago. How can he look me in the eye and claim that? Do you see? I've turned both for observation and for deduction and fame. That is what makes me the one and only Sherlock Sholmes. Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet? Have I managed to deduce anything, my dear fellow? Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in his most cunning hiding place? That's right. It was none other than the great detective before you, now, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. I see. In other words, I'm in these now because of him. It's his fault. When I became anxious about Kazuma-sama this morning, I summoned all of the crew members to force the cabin door open. And I concealed myself among their number, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes, luckily for everyone, the great detective Herlock Sholmes was on board. And the handcuffs seemed to be an excellent fit. Mr. Naruhodo. The very moment I laid eyes on the scene, two facts were immediately apparent to me. Oh really? Two facts, you say? Mr. Sholmes, please tell us. What two facts were apparent when you came into the cabin this morning? Ah yes, but first, let us be precise. The two facts in question were immediately apparent to me. Yes, I understand, but what were they? Allow me to elucidate. The two facts I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the scene of the crime were as follows. Number 1. The cabin was locked from within, rendering escape of the culprit out of the question. Number 2. The victim was Russian and killed following a dispute with an acquaintance. Hold on, Mr. Sholmes. What made you think the victim was Russian? Observe the dying message left by the victim on the floor. That is the Russian word for wardrobe. So, do you really think Kazuma-sama could have left a dying message in Russian? In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. For this young man, Russian. Kazuma was Russian, was he? Initially, I considered Garderob maybe the name of the killer, a certain Robert Gard, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe. There, at least. Where he found Mr. Naruhodo sleeping soundly. Quite so. I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian too? I observed that you were wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you were acquainted. And if my memory serves, that outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people. Our school uniforms are the traditional dress of the Russian people. I had no idea. And I had no idea a detective could get something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim and the message, that I might analyze it for possible hidden details. This was taken immediately after the young man was discovered, before the body was removed. Yes, Cosmo had already been taken away when I woke up. This is the first time I've actually seen him like this. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, thank you. The photograph of the crime scene has been entered to the court record. Can I ask you something, Mr. Sholmes? What, pray? You mentioned Russia before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary, fleeing from Russia and all that. Ah yes, the train of reasoning that led me to the truth. Do you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? Certainly, if it interests you. How many times? I'm not Russian and I don't speak Russian. Your deduction just now. Can we talk about your deduction before? The things you concluded about me, I mean. The now famously accurate, troubling predicament you find yourself in. Actually, it was the other details I was more hoping to discuss. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and assassin of 16 part. Ah yes, the more sordid details. It was a fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads, Revolutionary villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port of call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night the young Russian was murdered. Since when was Kazuma a Russian? It seems like Mr. Sholmes has concluded he was a Russian because of what Kazuma wrote on the floor. It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit of this crime was the same merciless revolutionary, and one who would kill the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you, villain Bolshevik. No. How could it be me? How could it be me? I don't look anything just like this man. Just look at his face. Well, you are a fearsome revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learned to revolutionize your appearance as well. Please. And I might add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? Well, that's because I'm a stowaway. What about the other details? The 16 victims of assassination and blowing up the Crystal Tower. Ah yes, the journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all those particulars in this article. The deeds the man has perpetrated thus far, and those he's plotting. Yes, everything about this revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There can be no mistake. Do revolutionaries usually agree to interviews with newspaper reporters, I wonder? And what about the part where you said I was from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik is recently returned after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Where even is it anyway? This Afghanistan place? Dang, Ryunosuke does not know geography. Although I guess that kind of makes sense. Here, take the paper for yourself as a little memento of this great deduction. Oh, thank you. I've absorbed all that is of interest to me within its pages, but I see no rubbish bin nearby. The article about the revolutionary has been entered into the court record. And you may find the article on the back page of interest as well. On the back. Cast your eye over it sometime if the interest takes you, though you may need someone to interpret. It's all written in Russian. I couldn't hope to read it. But I suppose it wouldn't hurt just to glance at the article. Maybe there might be a picture, too. Let's take a look at it now. I'm afraid I can't read a word of Russian. Nope, me neither. I have no idea what any of this says. The pair of you floundering is a sorry sight. Allow me to offer some assistance. The article of the front page of this newspaper is concerned with a fearsome Russian revolutionary. It reads, "Revolutionary villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai." Yes, you told us that before. It reveals also that those who see the man's beard with their own eyes never live to tell the tale. Oh my goodness, he is fearsome. Well, presumably, the newspaper photographer was alright, wasn't he? The solution is obvious, of course. If he despises his beard to that degree, he need only to shave it off. I'm not quite sure that's the problem, Mr. Schultz. Okay, let's see the back. This is interesting. Have you found something relevant, Naruhodo-san? Well, no, it means it looks like it might be interesting. I can't read a single word, I'm afraid. Nor can I. But look at this picture. Perhaps it's about a beautiful young Russian princess. Do you think? She is very pretty, isn't she? I suppose you enjoy articles like this, do you? I don't know. I can't make any sense of it. Ah, I'm glad you've noticed this article. Ah! Allow me to give you a short summary of its content. Oh, thank you. He pops up everywhere. This Mr. Sholmes. It's about the disappearance of a young lady last night. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. During a performance in Shanghai, the famous dancer was reported missing. She is, of course, the talented young Nikolina Pavlova. Why are Russian names so hard to remember? It would appear the woman was in costume when she was found to be missing from her dressing room, wearing the diamond tiara you see pictured, which is worth some 20,000 rubles. Oh, how much is 20,000 rubles? I have no idea. I'm quite sure. It must be an unbelievable sum of money. Susato-san's eyes are shining like diamonds as well. The tiara is the property of the Novovich Ballet. It would seem the director is beside herself with worry. Yes, I'm not surprised. The company is most anxious to recover both Miss Pavlova and the valuable tiara. They've requested international assistance at all ports with sailings to Great Britain. Could this be another case of a Russian fleeing his or her country? Does seem to be the Russian thing to do. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, Mr. Naruhodo. The article about the ballerina has been entered into the court record. What you were just investigating? Before we started talking, you were examining Kazuma's desk, weren't you? Kazuma. Oh yes, the victim. Did you notice anything useful? Anything at all? Observe for a moment the desktop of the victim. We see that the victim was engaged in penning some text. London Diary. Kazuma was keeping notes of the trip. But... I don't think you should read his private writings. It could upset people. Tragic. And something you ought to perhaps elucidate before the act of reading. You mean you've read it already? It is my business to know what other people do not. Yes, believe it or not, I know a smattering of Japanese. Oh, I see. Well, you're about to know what a Susato takedown is. Susato-san, aren't you going to throw the detective with one of your trademark takedowns? I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san. What on earth do you mean? Life is so unfair. Anyway, to return to the matter at hand, namely this diary belonging to the victim. would appear the final sentence is incomplete, as if the author were cut short. Tell me, what is the nature of this writing? May be precise as to details. Oh, but I thought you knew Japanese. A smattering, my dear boy. A smattering. Sayonara, Banzai, Mikado, Naro Naro. I trust you're suitably impressed. That's, well, ah. But this diary is littered with complicated-looking characters, of which I can read precisely none. Ha 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 ha. What was all that showing off before then? If you'd be so kind as to show me, I'd be happy to read it to you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm much obliged, my dear madam. The final entry here in Kazuma-sama's diary consists of just 2 short sentences. The first reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. A whistling sound? These are very deep waters. Pray go on. The second sentence reads, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? What does that mean? I've no idea. I've never heard that expression before. The ventilator grill, you say? The man was presumably referring to the lattice there on the wall, which connects to the adjoining cabin. Yes, the adjoining cabin. Cosmo's diary's been entered to the court record. So, I believe I've given you enough to consider for the time being, at least. Ah, do you have somewhere to go? As it happens, the victims writing in this diary have piqued my interest. The matter warrants further investigation, I believe. And if I'm still too long, the seasickness takes hold. Oh, I suppose. You're thinking of investigating the cabin next door, which the ventilator connects to? Great detectives are a curious breed. Our minds rebel at stagnation. We crave mental exaltation. So yes, I intend to investigate. Hence the truth will become clear soon enough. Do you think perhaps we could go with you? No. That'd be somewhat complicated. Why? A simple glance at your wrists should reveal the answer. Oh, these. After all, you're the prime suspect in this matter, no? There's no point in trying to turn it into a question. You're the one who decided I was the culprit in the first place. Whatever do you mean? I have no recollection of naming you as the culprit at any point. You must be joking. You said it. You just said it a moment ago. Dear me, you are clearly misguided. I would have no cause to say such a thing. Well, actually, Mr. Sholmes, I did hear you say that, too. You're quite sure? Well, that's very strange. I wouldn't have said you had the face of a criminal, you know? Not really. So what? Were you looking at my knees before? Some great detective you are. Well, anyway. That was then and this is now. What do you mean? What I mean, sir, is this. If you are the culprit, then you must play the part more convincingly. Roll over and accept your fate. Now he's just being plain rude. And off he goes, having just laughed at my face. The sense of humor's as twisted as his name. Naruhodo-san, what are you just standing there for? We must go and investigate the cabin next door as well. Aren't you forgetting something? What about these? After Cosmo-sama spent his dying moments struggling to leave us a clue, you're willing to give up? You're just going to roll over and accept your fate? As if you give me any choice in the rolling over part. I think we still have some investigation to finish off in here first, don't we? Let's carry on examining what we can in this cabin while we wait for the chance to slip next door. Good idea. The situation doesn't look good for me, but there still are things I can do to help myself. And I owe it to Cosmo to do everything I can to find a way out of this and bring the real culprit to justice. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? Oh no. Is it that crewman standing by the door? I can't help feeling like I've seen him somewhere before. Oh yes, you're right. He does look familiar. Excuse me, sir. No, there's no way. How is he here? How is Hosonaga here? That's totally him. Yes. What can I do for you? I recognize that face, but it can't be. It is. I didn't know you were here, Inspector Hosonaga. Hello again. What are you doing here? I think that should be my line. I was so stunned when I saw you, my heart stopped. Nearly stopped, I hope. I received some special orders to go undercover as a member of the crew and board this ship. Again? You certainly seem to enjoy undercover work, Inspector. If there's anything I can do to help you, please ask. I never expected to see this man on board. Perhaps his presence can help me out of this hopeless situation. Special orders. So what are your special orders this time, Inspector? Yes. And why are you dressed as a member of the crew? I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I take full responsibility. For what? My orders were to act as the Sogi-san's bodyguard. It was the Minister of Justice Chigoku who pushed for this overseas study tour to go ahead. And he entrusted me with ensuring that Asogi-san reached Great Britain without being assassinated. Assassinated? How could that even have been a possibility? I'm not sure. But these are complicated times. There are tensions between the world's greatest powers. Minister Jikoku said we should be prepared for all eventualities. This is incredible. I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama was assassinated. Obviously, we couldn't give Asogi-san a visible security escort. Which is why I'm undercover now, posing as one of the crew. I see. And I didn't take my eyes off him the entire time we've been on board, from morning until night, every day. But I never imagined it would happen here, inside his own cabin, not here on the first class deck. I failed miserably at my assignment, and Asogi-san is dead as a result. I'm a disgrace. All I can do is humbly apologize. Inspector. So if there's anything at all I can do to help now, just say the word. Permission to investigate. We're doing what we can to investigate Kazuma's death ourselves. I thought you might be. You didn't do it, did you? You're not the killer. Of course not. We'd really like to investigate the cabin next door. Yes. Yes. So we need to be allowed to see out of this cabin. I'm sorry. What? You've been deemed a risk to the ship's safety. If you move to even touch the handle of the cabin door, that stormy-looking seaman there would surely snap your neck in two. I suppose. I'm not just a stowaway now, they think I'm a murderer as well. Would it be possible to give me something to work with, do you think? I'm going to need something persuasive. What do you mean? If I had a solid reason why the next door cabin should be investigated, for example, I'd do everything I could possibly do to persuade the captain to allow it. Really. I'd lay my life on the line if I had to. But I don't see how. There may be a way. What? Really? Think of how you tried to persuade me of your innocence, Naruhodo-san. By presenting me with a piece of evidence that you had already had in your possession. Evidence? It's just the same as when you were in court. You must have done it as many times. You must have done it many times during your trial. Simply select the present panel and choose some evidence that Inspector Hosonaga could use. So evidence that would give us a viable reason to investigate the next door cabin, is it? Alright, yes. I think I might know what we can use. Let's present the detective with what he needs. It should be this, because it shows there was something suspicious with the vent. What's that? It's Cosmo's diary. Just before he died, Cosmo-sama wrote something rather strange in his diary. Strange? In what way? He wrote, "What looks like some kind of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill." A speckled band? That is strange. Yes, we're still trying to work out what he meant by that. What I'd like to know is... Don't tell me. The ventilator, is it? You're so very astute, Inspector. That ventilator clearly joins to the next door cabin. That's right. So if we could investigate in there, we might be able to work out what the speckled band was. Alright then. I can't leave this cabin at the moment. I'm stuck in here until we arrive at the next port. The captain had given me strict orders to guard the scene of the crime. You see? I'll have to entrust the investigation to you. Really? You're willing to do that? Yes. As long as you don't leave the first class cabin area. I'm afraid I can't remove those handcuffs, though. But what about the captain? Aren't you going against his direct orders? I'm a man of my word. And I promise you I'll lay my life on the line, if that's what it takes to convince the captain. After all, I failed to keep Asogi-san safe. This is the least I can do. Thank you. Let's seize the moment then, Naruhodo-san. Just like to move and we can leave the captain at this cabin at last. Let's see what we can find out. First class passageway. 9th of January, 7:48 a.m. SS Brea first class cabin passage. Oof, I'm finally out of that cabin. I have to admit, this isn't quite what I was expecting. It's less spacious out here than I thought it would be. And this is the most luxurious accommodation. Yes, indeed. Cosmo-sama was being sent on this study tour by the government. That's why he was being put up in a first-class cabin. Even still, this is about twice as large as my accommodation in steerage. Really, that must be awful. Oh, look over there. There's another crewman keeping watch, He looks enormous, even if he's sitting down. The door next to him leads to the second class accommodation. I suppose he's making sure no one comes in here who shouldn't. I suppose. Like people in handcuffs? Naruto-san, you look like a little boy visiting a toy shop for the first time. I would have thought you'd be used to the ship by now. We've been at sea for 2 weeks already. Well, yes, I know. But the thing is, I was inside Cosmo's trunk when I first came aboard. And ever since then, I've been shut up inside that little wardrobe. It must have been a very trying time for you. Please don't give me that pitying look. Okay, let's examine stuff around here. That's a huge book on top of the table there. And there's a pen next to it. Yes, that book looks like the ship's log. Shall we have a little look through it? The writing is so neat and precise. Every detail about the voyage has been meticulously recorded. You don't expect a rough and ready sailor to have such beautiful handwriting. And nothing. No reaction at all. I thought he might appreciate the compliment. I'm not sure that rough and ready is much of a compliment, Naruto-san. Even to a sailor. Anyway, last night's log is mostly blank. Presumably that means there was nothing to report. Okay, so that was blank. Let's talk to him. Excuse me, but could I ask you something? You little stowaway murderer. That wasn't a good start, was it? Alright, let me try instead. Good day, Mr. Sailor. I'm so sorry to trouble you, but could I perhaps ask something of you? You little third-class lady's maid. Oh. We seem to have caught this sailor on a bad day, Susato-san. I am not sailor. My mother gave me name. I am senior crewman, Biff Stroganoff. Ugh, the best thing is just to avoid eye contact, I think. First class cabin area. Mr. Stroganoff, about this first class cabin area. Here we are in finest part of Burya's steamship for very important persons. What sort of very important persons? Government officials, kings and queens traveling in secret. Many important persons. That is why I'm always guarding this place. Gosh, that's amazing. But somehow I let stupid stowaway inside. I want to pick you up and throw you in ocean, but Stroganoff is not animal. Thank you. If I may, I was wondering, is the captain next to Mr. Asogi's currently occupied? I don't know how to read Russian. Susato-san, did you understand that? It sounded like da. I think it's probably Russian for yes or no. Genius. It is not permitted to visit other cabins without invitation. Well, sounds like there is somebody in the next door cabin at least. Yes, it's tantalizing. Could you tell us who's traveling in the cabin next to Mr. Asogi's? His name is Mr. Grimesby Roylott. He's a very important Western gentleman. A Western gentleman. Do not think about it. He has nothing to do with the murder of student boy. How can you be so sure about that? Mr. Roylott is authentic Western gentleman. Such a man would have no interest in lowly student from insignificant Far East Islands. That was harsh. Could you tell us when Mr. Roylott came aboard? That is not your business. Come to think of it, even though we've been at sea 2 weeks now, and I've been in Kazuma's cabin the entire time, I've never once heard anything from the next door cabin, or even felt like there's been anyone there. Well, presumably since this gentleman is occupying one of the first-class cabins, he must be rather important. Is that right? That is not your business. Last night. Are you on watch all the time? Seaman Stroganoff? Duh. All the time. So criminals like you cannot come in or get out. I wonder, could you tell us anything about last night at all? It is sad about student boy. Were you on watch last night as well? Of course. And did you notice anything at the time? Anything unusual? It. Susato-san? Did you understand that? It was clearly a no. I saw nothing unusual. Nothing at all. And you didn't hear any strange noises or sense that anything was wrong in some way? I said no. Something must have happened last night that the crew noticed was strange. Sorry. I'm not so sure. I could have sworn that he wouldn't catch my eye for a moment there. This is enough. I cannot say more now. Oh. It's time for me to report to Captain. You must return to cabin. Yes, alright. Bulkhead to second-class area is staying locked at all times. You escape when the lobster whistles on top of the mountain. Or as English say, when pigs fly. Yes, I understand. Good. Now we can investigate the area properly, shall we? Definitely. Okay, let's see what else is here. This is like the plan of the SS Beria. It shows each deck. Look. The Beria is a large-scale steamship with a triple-skinned hull. What a marvel of engineering. Well, it's been playing on my mind for a while now, actually. But how is it that such a huge lump of metal doesn't just sink to the bottom of the ocean? Well, that's just physics. Oh, that's really quite simple, Naruhodo-san. It is? Well, consider the Japanese archipelago. The islands of Japan. Yes. They're not metal, but they are enormous lumps of earth, many times larger than this ship. And they don't sink, do they? They've been floating happily on the sea since the gods created them. I don't think the islands float. Personally, I think that might be wrong. Well, I suppose so. Okay, anything else here? I could look at. I should just look at this just so I look at everything. That's the way to the second class area of the ship. Is something wrong? I was thinking about making a run for it, just for a moment. Things aren't exactly going well for me. I might be wrong, but imagine the moment you reach for the handle of the door. That burly seaman would surely shoot you dead. Oh dear, I'm sorry. Perhaps I went a little too far there. No, I started it with my talk of running away. And there's no way I could run away while Cosmo's death remains a mystery. Anyway. Okay, let's see. A mousetrap? Ah, a trap for catching mice. Yes, we have plenty of those back home in Japan. Although they do seem to be using a lump of chalk or something as bait. Let me see. Yes. I think that's what it is called, cheese. It's made from the milk of cows. Cheese. I wonder what that tastes like. You can't eat it, Naruhodo-san. The trap will shut on your fingers. Really, but I suppose you're right. You weren't actually going to try it, were you? All I've had to eat for the past couple of weeks is Cosmo's leftovers. You don't know how hungry I've been in that wardrobe. Poor you. I'll find a little snack for you later. Naruhodo-san's having a bad time. First class cabin number 1. Yes, that's our cabin. Not our cabin. It's Cosmo-sama's. Sorry. Your accommodation is confined to the wardrobe inside that cabin. You know how to make a stowaway feel small, don't you? As small as the wardrobe I've been calling home. These cabins are the finest on the ship. My own cabin is in steerage number 539, by the way. 500 and... How many cabins are there? A bell. What do you think this is? It's a very pleasing shape, isn't it? That's the emergency alarm. It's probably best not to touch it. Oh, an alarm. It says, press only in times of emergency. It looks as though it sets alarm bells ringing all over the ship and brings the vessel to a complete stop. Oh, no, no. What are you doing, Naruhodo-san? You mustn't touch it. But this is an emergency situation. Just look at these handcuffs. You know full well that's not what meant. That's what the alarm's meant for. If you were to bring this vessel to a standstill for no good reason, you'd be in an even worse situation. I wish everything would just stop. The ship included. If you have to do something foolish, at least make it something that doesn't affect anyone else. Eat the cheese. Okay. And there's only one other cabin here. This is it. This is the cabin next to ours. The one the ventilator connects to. Yes. The ventilator from which Cosmo wrote that he saw a speckled band emerging. Maybe whoever's in this cabin can help us solve that particular mystery. Let's ask. No answer. We're out of luck, it seems. There's no one in there to help with our inquiries. How annoying. What was that? It came from inside the cabin. Such a high-pitched scream. It must have been a woman. Stand aside. I'm about to break down the door. Mr. Sholmes. I shan't be stopped. When the fit is on me, I revel in the kicking of doors off their hinges. Please, wait, Mr. Sholmes. The door doesn't appear to be bolted. It doesn't. Then how the deuce can I dispatch this muscular urge? What, pray, can I kick? I think we should go in. There's no time to think about stress relief. Ninth of January, SS Bria, First Class Cabin Number 2. Who are you? A Western gentleman. This man looks Russian to me. We heard a woman scream. A woman? Don't be absurd. As you can see, there's nobody but me in this cabin. True, this old man does appear to be the only one in the cabin. But in that case, who just screamed? Get out! All of you, now! Please excuse the intrusion. But you're Mr. Grimsby Roylott, I believe? Yes, that's me. And you are? I am the one and only, the actual Herlock Sholmes. You've heard of me, no doubt. No. I am a great detective among great detectives. One who adorns the cover of popular magazines, no less. So I assure you, you may trust me completely. The man uses that magazine like it's a business card. A detective? I do not trust detectives. We distinctly heard a scream emanating from within these walls. But there wouldn't appear to be a lady concealing herself within the wardrobe at this time. So might I be so bold as to ask you to open that small traveling case? What? Don't be stupid. How could anyone fit in a small trunk like that? Well, it's quite fashionable these days, is it not? Traveling inside one's trunk. Don't look at me. Oh my. Did you see that, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the case just shook. Leave now, otherwise, I'll call the steward. So this is Cosmo's neighbor, Mr. Grimesby Roylott. There's no doubt about it. This strange Russian man is hiding something. She's guilty, he's guilty. Yeah, I mean, that guy, Mr. Roylott, does look extremely like the Russian revolutionary in the newspaper, at least in terms of his beard. She's also guilty. Susato didn't do anything, probably. I couldn't agree more. Let's see if we can find some clues before that burly sailor returns. Guilty until proven innocent. Yeah, let's talk to this man. Mr. Roylott, we'd like to talk about something. No. Oh. I do not want to talk. I'll leave my cabin now. This is going terribly. We're not getting anywhere here. I agree. But there may be someone else who can help. Perhaps the great detective could get somewhere with Mr. Roylott. What's he doing in there? I guess I can keep clicking through these. Mr. Roylott, we'd like to talk to you about something. Oh, is this just gonna be the same? Okay, it's the same. Okay, let's go back and examine. What do you think you're doing? Ah! This is my cabin, get out. Could we just have a quick look inside your traveling case, perhaps? No. Ah, what a pity. I think we're out of luck. I think you're right. Oh, the most Russian character is named Ryunosuke. He's Japanese. He's not actually Russian, regardless of what Sholmes thinks. There doesn't appear to be anything more we can do. I agree, but there may be someone else who can help. Okay, I just have to talk to perhaps the great detective. Okay. Sholmes, help us out here. No, Ryunosuke is No. That guy's Mr. Roylott. Mr. Grimesby Roylott. Here, I can bring up Ryunosuke, because he's probably not really going to appear for... Okay, I can't bring him up very easily, but... No, Ryunosuke is Japanese. There's a picture of him in the announcement tweet for this stream, but it would take me a little bit too long to pull him up. You need only address me as Sholmes. That's what I just did, isn't it? Well, Mr. Sholmes, what were you doing in there? Why, I was resting, of course. Sholmes. Smearlock Sholmes. No, his name's Herlock. Herlock Sholmes. Resting. Indeed. I was contemplating our sea voyage from the confines of the wardrobe whilst waiting. Waiting for the inevitable time that you would need to call on my great powers of detection into service, or call my powers into service, rather. Oh. And it would seem that the hour is upon us now. The time has come. Am I mistaken? Well, no, actually, you're spot on. for once. Observe closely. Our Russian host in this cabin, Mr. Roylott, is clearly trying to hide something. And do you know what is the most effective weapon to use against a Russian hiding a secret? Why? The truth, of course. Though it should be pointed out that such methods are not exclusively for the Russians. Right. Can you imagine how the Russian will react when the secret he guards so closely is exposed? Would you like to witness it? Oh yes, please. It's hidden in his beard. That's why he carries scissors for easy access. That's really funny. Okay. That would be one reason to have scissors. I mean, his beard is clearly very well maintained. Well then, what you're about to see may well astound you. For I'm about to apply my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Could this man be a more hackneyed portrayal of a dubious Russian, I ask you? What? From time to time it occurs to me. Is the fellow dubious on account of his Russianness? Or Russian on account of his dubiousness? What is... There's certainly some there's some interesting dialogue in this game so far. I really don't think either one of those should be occurring to you or anyone. Like, thank you, Inosuke. That's right, and Mr. Sholmes. I know this man's beard and dark glasses are hard to ignore, especially on first meeting, but I once read, it is a capital mistake to theorize before you have all the evidence. It biases the judgment. Yeah, I don't know. Herlock Sholmes does not seem the most reliable detective right now. Shh. I must have complete silence. He's trying to fill up his essay with that dialogue. What are you doing? Why are you peering at my face like that? Just as I thought. Yes, I have quite made up my mind now. There can be no other explanation that accommodates all of the facts. Mr. Roylott, I have reached two inconvertible conclusions. What do you mean? Number one, your true identity is that of a villain. Using those shears, you're about to end the existence of something most dear. Are you not? Huh? Oh, he was about to shave his beard? And number two, the other conclusion I've drawn. You are, at this very moment no less, in the midst of committing a most grievous crime. Beneath that beard, your mouth quivers with nervous tension as you realize you have been discovered. Knew it. It's hidden in his beard. That was such a good guess. Does it not? Aha! Oh, Naruhodo-san. I never imagined I would witness one of Mr. Sholmes' great deductions with my own eyes. That was a great deduction. Nothing can deceive Mr. Sholmes. In a single glance, you can deduce all there is to know about a person. What? What ineffable twaddle. Oh yes, I've read about it countless times in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. And now I've experienced the astonishing impact of his great deduction firsthand. This is like a dream come true. I can hardly believe it, but all the color is drained from Mr. Roylot's face. It looks like somehow both of Mr. Sholmes' conclusions were right. How could you? How could I possibly know such things, you wish to say? Very well then, I shall elucidate. I shall explain how it was I arrived at this pair of conclusions. So I do cordially invite you upon a journey of logical discovery. Let us board the train of reasoning. Put plainly, let us work through my deductions together. The great deduction. The game is afoot. Topic 1. Old man's identity. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously... What catches the eye in the first place? Is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now, we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You are on the verge of using the shears to cut away the copious beard you sport. Now, moving on. The question then begged is this. Why would you desire to rid yourself of this magnificent beard, Mr. Roylott? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on this matter. Regard, if you will, this morning's newspaper, in particular the fascinating front page article, which it would appear you've read also, Mr. Roylott. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. He actually... In translation, the headline reads, Revolutionary villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. And you cannot fail to observe the subject of the article possesses an extremely copious beard. His face looks taller in that picture. Maybe it's a sketch. Having noted the article yourself, you decide to remove your incriminating facial hair before it gave you away. In short, your true identity is beyond doubt. You are the fearsome Russian revolutionary himself, villain Bolshevik. This is why I shave. Yeah, you can't have an incriminating beard if you just shave. That's very true. Not that I've heard of you myself. You understand. A revolutionary on the run. Topic 2. Wrongdoing. Now, as for my second conclusion, you are, at this very moment, on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime, over there. Oh yes, Mr. Roylott. Taken unawares, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. Ah, and I assure you, the eye speaks so much more eloquently and honestly than the mouth. The answer we seek lies where the furtive glance falls. The proof of your crime sits before our very eyes. Yes, that traveling case. It is time, I think, the case be opened and its contents laid bare. No, I refuse. What could you possibly be concealing inside? We ask. By my estimation, a young lady, perhaps. One slight enough to fit in there. Don't be absurd. It actually could be possible, if it's the ballerina from the other article. But that would require, like, contortionist levels of flexibility to fit in something that small. And what, pray, would be the identity of this young lady in the traveling case? It would be more likely she's under that tablecloth. There could be an animal inside the smaller case, though. Dear me. We are not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Your careless... That looks similar to coup d'etat. It's definitely French. Coup de wheel betrays you. We'll go with that pronunciation. French is hard. Once again, we need only follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason you refused to open your traveling case can be equally found in the pages of this newspaper. For there's another, most stimulating article. If we turn from the fleeing revolutionary to the back page, renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. Such a headline can lead us to but one conclusion. Your crime is that of abduction. And according to the article, the young lady's name is Nikolina Pavlova. Conclusion: kidnapping of a young ballerina. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this Russian enigma, Elemensky. Susato-san, that wasn't one of the great deductions I've been hearing so much about, was it? Well, the stories are full of Mr. Sholmes' brilliant deductions, you know? But that did seem a little different, somehow. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes, could you come over here for a moment? Pray, what can I do for you? It's about your deduction. Do you mind? Not at all. Go on. Well, to start with, there's the newspaper article. I think we had the same discussion before, but these two men look nothing like each other. Ah yes, I recall our discussion earlier, and at the time, I believe I told you. That man is a revolutionary, well able to revolutionize his own appearance. In fairness, Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Roylott does look more like this man than you do. That's not the point. And another thing, the part about him abducting the ballerina. Indeed, a truly startling revelation. At first glance, the case would appear too small to accommodate a young woman. Not just at a first glance, it is too small, clearly. You'd be lucky to fit a 5-year-old child into that case. You'd be pushed really hard. I don't suppose the missing ballerina is a 5-year-old child, is she? You mean you don't know? No, the young lady is 15. No, I didn't know. How could I? Well, if she's 15, then 10 years worth of her would be poking out from the case. That's one way of looking at it. Some years ago, I read something pertinent, I believe. A troop of men consuming vinegar daily in order to promote a certain litheness in their bodies. Litheness? Maybe? Vinegar. For such a sour bunch, it would surely be simplicity itself to contort oneself into the confines of that small case. Oh dear. You might be thinking of contortionists in the circus, Mr. Sholmes. This whole thing is turning into a circus. Mr. Narhoda, something occurred to me about Mr. Sholmes' deductions just now. I think his powers of observation are, well, magical. His eyes cut to the heart of a matter almost instantly. It's just where he directs his attention and his logic that seems a little off. Your idea of a little may be a little off itself, Miss Susata. It's just one or two keywords in his deductions that seem to let him down. So I was wondering if we might perhaps tactfully switch them for alternatives. What do you think? Switch some keywords in his deductions. Yes, but very tactfully. I feel sure if we could do that, we'd unlock the true genius of Mr. Sholmes' great deduction. Precisely the thought I was going through in my own mind. This man is a lot of work. At times, I wonder how anyone puts up with me. That's not that funny. Ah, and you, my good fellow. Sorry? Take a moment to look at your wrists. My wrists. I've been on handcuffs. Ah, where are your handcuffs? Huh? How did it? I felt they may hinder your ability to follow me in our dance of deduction. I don't believe it. Mr. Sholmes, you are a marvel. And don't worry, I shall restore the shackles to your wrists when we are finished. I'm not worried, in fact. I'd rather stay like this. So, let us begin. Sherlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Yeah. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place. Is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer is staring us in the face. The copious beard. No, he's getting... I'm not sure. Would you really use shears like that to cut off a beard? I doubt that's something I'll ever have to worry about. It doesn't quite sit right with me, though. Yeah, see here. On the left is Ryunosuke. So this is what he actually looks like. It doesn't seem to be sitting right with Mr. Roylott either. Which means, I suppose, the deduction is wrong. Let's try to switch a keyword out here, Naruhodo-san. See if it helps matters. Alright, but how? Answer still tutorial. I think we should start by taking a long, hard look at Mr. Roylott. I wonder if it's really his beard he intends to use the shears on. Exactly. If we do manage to find something that seems to fit the sense of Mr. Sholmes' deductions better, then what? Then I'll leave the rest in your capable hands, Naruhodo-san. Why am I the one to do something about this? Well, anyway, let's see if we can find anything that we could use to switch around. We could even use to switch around in that last sentence. What is he going to use those enormous shears for? What was he really about to cut? Coat buttons. His hat? It's a very thick hat, isn't it? Ah, that's the secret you see, Naruhodo-san, don't you know? Secret? What? Well, before we left Japan, I took some time to study various foreign countries. Russia is a land of unimaginable cold. And a thick hat is the secret to keeping warm. Without one, I read, your brain would freeze. That was just one of many fascinating snippets of information in Oh Mother, Not Russia. I think maybe you picked the wrong book there. Oh, oh wait, I can spin him around. Oh. What the? What's this? It looks like a cascade of stunning golden locks. No, the colors is not the point. The point is, what's it doing on the back of Mr. Roylot's head? And how is it growing out from underneath his thick black hair? Oh. He's actually the ballerina? Well, yes, that's true. So it's stunningly beautiful and stunningly surprising. Something's definitely not right here.
Yes!
You're on the verge of using the shears to cut away the golden locks. You sport? Indeed. You've identified the precise detail I was intending to expose. Such lush, golden hair certainly does not befit an old man. You're not a man at all. You're a woman. And judging from the length and sheen of your hair, one still very much in her youth. Oh no. If only I managed to cut off my hair, no one would have suspected. The question then begged is this: why would you desire to rid yourself of these magnificent locks? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the... well, that was a shock. I had no idea that old man was really a young woman in disguise. Did you? What? Why are you staring at me like that? Yes, it was a surprise. Naruhodo-san. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Oh, I'm very much enjoying it. Sorry. You look like you're in your element as you dance around the room, deducing facts with Mr. Sholmes. I'm just doing what we agreed. I'm not having fun or anything. It's not like I want to be helping with this to clear my name of yet another crime or anything. Nope, definitely not. This is just strictly business. Yes, I understand. Say no more. Well, anyway, let's focus on this next part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction, shall we? The evidence he picked out doesn't fit the facts at all now. No, that's true. Given that Mr. Roylott is actually a woman. Exactly. He, or rather she, can't possibly be this merciless revolutionary. I suppose it's because the deduction as a whole has taken a different direction now. Yes. Let's switch the evidence for something else. Something that fits the facts as we now understand them. For some reason, this woman needed to try to hide her true identity. I feel as though I've heard or read about a young woman in a situation like that recently. Alright, I'll do my best. It's the article about the ballerina.
Yes!
The evidence that reveals your true identity is, of course, the article about the ballerina. That's right. You've hit the nail on the head. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. It would appear we are finally able to address you by your true name. Yes, because your true identity is that of the Novovich Ballet's prima ballerina. Miss Nikolina Pavlova. Ah. No, the hat. That was really dangerous. She almost died. You're right. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. But please, I beg you, don't tell anyone. A ballerina on the run. Wrongdoing. Now, as for my second conclusion. You are at this very moment on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of the crime? Over there. Oh yes, Miss Pavlova. Taking unawares, people pretend. Oh yeah. I'm gonna cut off. The proof of your crimes just before very eyes. The traveling case. No. This woman's a ballerina, and she's right in front of our eyes. So clearly she can't be inside the traveling case as well. No, that's right. It seems she wasn't abducted at all. In which case, what is the crime this young woman is apparently committing? Theft of the crown? Huh. I can see I'm going to have to step in and fix the great detective's mistake again. You seem to look pleased, Naruhodo-san. Do you like the idea of another chance to dance around with Mr. Sholmes? Stop it. Anyway, there must be something else here that shows what the woman's up to. Oh, here we go. There we go. It's behind the chair. We found it. Wow, look at that dazzling tiara. I've never seen anything like it. Do you think those diamonds are real? You think? Oh, Naruhodo-san, try it on. What? Me? Isn't it usually girls who wear tiaras? Wouldn't you like to try it on? Oh no. I couldn't possibly. It's far too beautiful. Why does this tiara look familiar? I feel like I've seen it somewhere recently.
Yes!
That tiara. The proof of your crime is surely this tiara. Ah. I believe this tiara is worn on stage by dancers in the Novovich Ballet. is it not? Indeed. It would appear to be identical to the tiara in the pictured here in this newspaper article. And if the reporting is to be believed, it's an item worth 20,000 rubles. In summary, the crime you have committed is theft. Oh no. Yes, you left your ballet troupe, unlawfully taking their precious tiara with you. Ah! I have no one, no family, no friends. I'm all alone, and I need money. But I did not steal the tiara. It was a present from, how do you say, an Earl of Prussia. It belongs to me. This girl's only 15 years old, and he's run away all by herself. She must have been extremely lonely. Alright, I'll tell you everything. There's no point in trying to hide it now. Come. Let us not be hasty. What? There remains one unsolved mystery about you. Mystery? What do you mean? You have staunchly refused to open this traveling case of yours in our presence. Is it reasonable to conclude, therefore, that there exists some reason why you wish it to remain closed? Is that not so, Miss Pavlova? My dear girl, there's no sense in playing games with me. Nothing escapes my attention. Indeed, I have a very good idea of the contents of your case, even before I've ever laid eyes on them. Dear me. We are not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Your careless coup d'oeil. I still can't say that word. Yes. The reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the books on the shelf. He completely changed the tack with his deduction now. I think Mr. Sholmes is adapting his logic to the changing circumstances, don't you? Maybe. But why has he suddenly brought the bookshelf into all of this? It's just a wild guess, surely. Oh, do you think so? Well, it doesn't seem likely that the reason why this young woman doesn't want to open her case would have been written in a book that doesn't even belong to her. Yes, that's true, but still. Miss Pavlova certainly did cast her eyes in that direction. I noticed it myself. Then there has to be another reason why she won't open the case. And it must be somewhere in the same area, if that's where her gaze was involuntarily drawn. I agree. That's the only answer. Whatever she's hidden in the case should be revealed by following her gaze in the direction of the bookcase. It's, she won't open it because of this. The rules of passage. No pets allowed. These are the rules of passage for traveling aboard the SS Burya. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. There's exactly the same notice in our cabin, too. I don't know what happens if you break the rules. Oh dear. I'm sure the punishment would be severe, Naruhodo-san. You'd probably be left to drift in the freezing cold ocean. Or shut inside a tiny wardrobe for days on end. So I've actually been serving time now for weeks, have I?
Yes!
Yes. The reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Inside the case of yours, is something forbidden from carriage on this vessel. That is the real reason why you refuse to open it, thus revealing its contents. As we've seen, the trunk wobbles from time to time, but no weapon or other dangerous object would move of its own accord. Which leaves but one possibility, Miss Pavlova. Inside your traveling case is the last item listed as forbidden in the vessel's rules of passage. A pet. Possession of a prohibited animal. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary. So clearly, you aren't who you said you were. No, I'm not Grimsby Roylott. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. Everything you said was correct. You absconded during one of your ballet company's performances in order to escape your homeland. Later that same night, you stole aboard this vessel. Which couldn't have been easy. The Beria is a huge steamship with a vast crew. Could you really have snuck aboard without being noticed? In order to obscure your true identity, you somewhat recklessly took the guise of an old gentleman. And you intended to sever all links with your past by severing your long hair. Yet to a woman, hair is no trifling matter. My personal recommendation is to leave well alone. So, if it was just you about to cut off your own hair, who was it that let out the scream we heard from outside the cabin? The veritable tinkling of a bell? Why none other than the young lady, naturally. More like a full set of pipes if you ask me. I was so scared when I ran away in Shanghai. I was sure they would come looking after me. That's why I decided to, how do you say, discuss myself? So no one would recognize me. As a result, you turned yourself into that questionable old man? I see. I put on the fur hat and a fake beard. Then just before you came in here, I saw in the newspaper, right on the page, there was a picture of me. I was so frightened, I couldn't stop from screaming. I knew that if I didn't change my appearances completely, they would find me. So I decided to cut all my hair as fastly as possible. I picked up the scissors in my hand and at that precise moment, we walked in through the annoyingly unlocked cabin door. Things happen like that sometimes, don't they? Things do indeed happen like that, from time to time. Are those two even talking about the same thing? There's just one more thing I'd like to know. What exactly do you have inside your traveling case? You were right. It is my dear friend inside. My only friend in the whole world. Please, don't tell anyone. If the captain finds out, if you say to any of the crew, your secret is safe with us, I assure you. But in return, you must tell us, in as much detail as you can muster, about the events of last night. Yes, all right. I will tell you. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, wasn't it something? Mr. Shom's great deduction? It certainly was something. Yes. I'm just not entirely sure what. But at least Miss Pavlova has agreed to tell us what she knows. That's incredible. Indeed, it is incredible. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, yes? What? Observe your wrists. My... Ah, your hands are cuffed again. How do you do that without me noticing? Without Ryunosuke noticing? What? But how? True to my word, I have restored your shackles. When? And why? There is still a shadow of guilt cast over you, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry to say, it can't be helped at the moment. Can't it? Really? Anyway, let's listen to what Pavlova has to say. I can't go on not knowing. I have to find out what the speckled band that Cosmosummer wrote about in his diary really was. Okay. Before I interview her, I'm gonna have to go refill my water. So I'll be back in 1 minute. Sorry, be right back. Okay. I have more water. I should be good for hopefully, the rest of this stream. Okay, let's ask her. What actually happened last night? Did you know that someone was killed in the cabin next door to this one last night? One of the crew told me this morning when I was eating breakfast. The man who died, he was a friend of mine. Oh. That's why we're trying to find out what happened. Did you notice anything unusual last night? Perhaps you heard a strange noise, for example. Perhaps people talking. Perhaps the ship was absorbed in a wild tempest. Perhaps its steam engine exploded. I think we know about that. I think we would know about those things, Shalms. I'm not sure about that one. Perhaps everyone on board would have noticed if that had happened. Miss Pavlova, is there anything you can tell us? I don't know. I'm sorry, but all I could think about last night was what I had done and whether they would find me. I didn't notice anything that was happening around me. Oh, I see. Running away. You've run away from your ballet company, haven't you? The Novovich Ballet. Yes. I'm traveling to Great Britain, and from there, I want to go to America. America. I will never dance again. I want to forget everything about the ballet. I will start a new life. You wish to forget? A challenging proposition. When you have that striking tiara as a reminder. But the tiara's mine. I need it to live. I have no money of my own. The Novovich Ballet gives us only a little food and water, and we must dance all over the world. I had to run away. I had no choice. If I stayed, it would have killed me. So you ran away to protect yourself? Yes. And the crew of this ship, they have all been so kind to me. They let me come on board, and they said I could hide in this cabin. Is that indeed the truth, Miss Pavlova? It creates a most intriguing conundrum. Yes, it does. What do you think about it, Mr. Naruhodo? Me? Oh, well, yes, of course. Okay, so she boarded the ship last night, and all the crew was in on it. So that's why they were saying nothing strange happened last night. But if they were helping her, they probably weren't actually paying normal attention to their jobs. I think we should hear Miss Pavlova's explanation. To what conundrum, I'm not sure. But, well, the other thing that's obvious is that if the crew knew that she could just stay in this cabin, then they knew it was empty, even if it was reserved for someone else. Because this should be Roy Lott's cabin. Anyway. Miss Pavlova, allow me to pose you a riddle. According to this newspaper, it was only yesterday that you absconded from the ballet. Now, that being the case, it must have been last night that you boarded this vessel. However, the SS Burya stopped by no port last night. Ah, that's it. Of course. So how is it, pray, that you come to be aboard? Now that I think about it, the crewman outside the cabin acted very strangely when we mentioned that. It was just after we asked him about when the occupant of this cabin came aboard. That's not your business. Yes, you're right. He did seem to be hiding something. An angel descended from the heavens, Bringing grace and beauty to the stage. Sorry, what was that? It is how Russian newspapers described one of my performances. And that is how I came here, too. I descended from the heavens because I am an angel. Considering your English isn't your mother tongue, your description is very vivid. Mr. Sholmes once said, I never can resist a touch of the dramatic. It seems Miss Pavlova is the same. A genius descended from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to detection. Words once said about myself. A quote from a wonderfully extravagant advertisement for the adventure of Herlock Sholmes, in fact. Yes, Mr. Showy. Anyway, it doesn't look like Miss Pavlova is going to tell us what really happened. So the friend you mentioned inside your traveling case, is that right? I don't think animals are allowed on board, according to the rules of passage. Oh, please, don't tell any of the crew. If they found my precious, then the burly Russians would bestir themselves in unison to throw you and your case overboard. No doubt. So reassuring, Mr. Sholmes. But what sort of pet is your friend? A little puppy? Is it? Isn't it? Maybe an adorable little rabbit? No? Huh. You credit Russia as a land with small rabbits, do you? Oh, don't they have small rabbits there then? You may well ask. I have no idea. Huh. You two are miserable bunglers when it comes to understanding the nature of young ballerinas, friends. Isn't it obvious? It must be a chicken. Really? Consider the benefits. A rousing wake-up call, daily fresh eggs, and when adversity strikes, it could satisfy the needs of sustenance. Okay, there's a few things wrong with this. First of all, it's roosters that specifically would potentially give you a wake-up call, and they don't lay eggs because roosters are male. And then having a pet just for the eventuality that you might need to eat them is... It's such a cursed idea. That's so bad. Why would you say such a thing? How could you say this with absolutely no hesitation? So you'd eat your friends. I'll remember that. I'll remember that. I can't. Holmes is going too far. Well, it would appear this friend's identity is a closely guarded secret not to be revealed. She obviously doesn't quite trust us yet. There's something I should like to show her, I think. Maybe she might be able to shed some light on it. Do I have something to show her? Oh, she could confirm with this. This is the only thing I have. Miss Pavlova, would you take a look at this? I don't know. I don't know anything. Mr. Naruhodo, you're frightening the poor girl. Oh, sorry. I wasn't trying to. What else? I have my badge. Can I show you this? I'm actually a university student from the Empire of Japan, you see. That means nothing to me. No? Why would it? Mr. Naruhodo, if you're determined to flaunt your Yume badge, at least choose a Japanese person who might recognize it. Miss Yusato, can I show you this? Maybe later. Oh, I could show Hosonaga too. Let's go. I guess this is what I'm supposed to ask her about. This is the diary of my friend who passed away. His diary. Yes. And he wrote it in it. And it last night before he died. Something a little unusual. It reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. And a few minutes later, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? I don't understand. It's strange, isn't it? But the ventilator he mentions joins to this cabin, you see. It's up there on the wall. In other words, this cabin and the victim's cabin are connected together. Oh! Miss Pavlova, has something occurred to you? Does the speckled band the victim mentioned mean something to you? Or the whistling sound, perhaps? No. I don't know anything. Oh. Excuse me, Mr. Roylott. Yes, what? Wow, she's fast. Captain would like to speak with you. You must come to Captain's quarters at once. Please. Alright. I've come now. What? You must leave. Now. Oh no, it's fine. Don't mind us. Yes. Please don't worry yourself, Mr. Roylott. Get out. The passenger said out. Or do you want me to throw you out? It looks like we'll have to leave investigating this cabin until later. What a pity. And so we lost our chance. Having still not managed to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin, we were unceremoniously chased out. That is to say, we were quite literally picked up and thrown out into the passageway outside. To be continued. I guess I should have tried to look around her cabin while talking to her. But, I don't know, she probably wouldn't have let me look around much anyway. Because she doesn't have a reason to trust us. I think perhaps if I continue on to part 2 now, then I'll be streaming for way too long. But at the same time, the next opportunity I have to play this game will be kind of a long time from now, potentially. So... I think I am unfortunately gonna have to call it. Because I have to be awake in just over 8 hours for something in the morning. So I don't want to stay up too late. But yeah. It's fine. I saved the game. Okay. Anyways, thanks to everyone that decided to stop by and watch and hang out. I hope you're all going to have a good rest of your day or night. And I will... Let's see. I'm not quite sure the next time I'm streaming. Because it might be on Tuesday or like in the morning on Wednesday. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going out of town next week. Like, very unfortunately for something. So, my stream schedule is going to be a little bit of a mess. The precise schedule, whatever I can manage, will be posted tomorrow on Monday. I probably won't be streaming tomorrow just because I need to do a lot of video editing work. But yeah, so Twitter is where I'll be able to post the most accurate information. It's a little bit tricky because I don't have the good place to post stuff otherwise right now. But yeah. Thanks to everyone who stopped by and to watch. And I'll see you next time.